Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest, boy, she stays busy in the fair industry. She currently serves as an associate director for the Florida Federation of Fairs. She's agriculture director for the Norman County Fair in Minnesota. Plus, she's the director of partnerships at Saffire. Folks, this is Jodi Buresh. Jodi, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Did I get my Minnesota okay?
Minnesota, yes.
I mean,
Sure.
you're originally from North Dakota, is that correct?
Correct. I live in West Fargo, North Dakota.
So, and you all, when I talk to you, you kind of got a similar, some similar accent to the folks in Minnesota. Is
No, we don't have an accent.
liars, liars. Okay,
Well,
so
West Fargo is right on the border of Minnesota.
sure.
So we're like
So
5 miles from Minnesota.
you get the spillover, yeah.
Right.
Excellent. And so is Norman County, is that just inside the border then?
It is about 50 miles north of Fargo.
Okay.
And history-wise, the reason I got on that fair board is I was supposed to just take over a 6-month directorship. When I left Red River Valley Fair, when I used to be there and started with Saffire, I was on the IAFE Speakers Bureau. And in order to stay with the Speakers Bureau, I needed to be on a fair board or
Sure.
be associated. So Don Merkins is like, hey, can you come over to our fair for 6 months and you can start the Ag Education Center? Well, it's been 8 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how many years ago was that?
8 years. It's
you're
been
still there.
fun. Yeah, it is amazing. We have a great building, expanded the building, added on to it. We have amazing sponsorships for it. So every year we add a couple more agricultural exhibits to it. It's fun.
Nice. And is that a volunteer position that you're doing?
Yes, 100%. Everybody on the fair board is a volunteer.
Okay, so Norman County is volunteer run. What's the attendance like for that fair?
Well, we don't have gate admission.
Oh, got it. It's
So
a free fair.
it's a free fair. I would say about 20 to 25,000 in the 4
Okay.
days.
Okay.
So
Fantastic.
in reality, it's a small fair.
Yeah, for sure. We actually just had Trisha Rosendahl on the show from Wright County in Iowa, which isn't probably not too far away from you guys.
No, it's not that far.
And what blew me away in talking to her is their sponsorship program, because they're a free fair. Like, there's no gate, there's no fence. It's just they're
Right.
kind of set up in a park, and they've got some. I mean, it's their fair grounds, but man, their sponsorship program is ridiculous. For
And
Eagle
that's what
Grove, that
we
has a
rely on
population
too.
of like 12. Like, Eagle Grove is super tiny. They have an amazing restaurant with a great little chicken sandwich that I rave about. But
Well, and I think the city of Ada is about 2,800 people, if
that's
that.
what I was going to ask. So a lot of your attendance is coming from well outside of the city.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And we're like the first fair in Minnesota to start up in June.
Okay,
So we're the earliest.
got it.
And Thomas Carnival has been with us forever, and they bring in a great show.
Got it. Now let me ask you, do they have a Ferris wheel at your fair?
Yes,
They do.
absolutely.
Okay. So it's one of the interesting things I found when I started working in the Midwest, especially in Iowa, is that the majority of the fairs do not have a Ferris wheel.
I know.
Because,
Yes.
and I guess as I was talking to Jen Dunn from the Lynn County Fair, you got to get
Right.
the in there.
The
She was explaining to me that a lot of these ride operators there's family operated, and they've got like 12 rides. Like, they're super small, that in order to move a Ferris wheel, even the smallest Ferris wheels take several trucks to move them, and they just don't have the resources for it. So there you have
absolutely.
it.
We treat our carnival like family. The night before we open, we give them a pork chop feed and we play games and we have so much fun. And it's the same people that come back every year. So it's a good partnership. We want to make sure that they're still coming back because we know that these carnivals cost a lot of money to travel.
Yeah.
And Thomas is based out of Austin, Texas. So to come up
wow.
to Minnesota is
That's
a
a
haul
jump.
for them. It is.
Wow.
But they love us. Like we play human foosball with them and we give them, yeah, we have a blast the night before the fair.
Human foosball. Are you the ball? How does that work?
No, but seriously, it's like PVC piping, and the people are like the foosball, and then you kick like a soccer ball, and it gets intense.
I bet. I bet. I joke because I could imagine me telling Sarah, "Oh yeah, they play human foosball," and she would say, "Well, with your bald head, you'd be a good soccer ball." That's what Sarah, my wife, would say to me. So well, that's fantastic. I mean, it sounds like you guys have a great little thing going on there
Oh yeah,
for your 6 months that you were supposed to be there that has
right,
now turned into 8 years, and clearly family, clearly something you're very passionate about. Um, Obviously not the only thing you do. You've got your hand in a lot of pots within the fair industry. You're also associate director down at Florida Fed. You actually took my spot on the board when
right.
I went off last year. How did that come about that they asked you? Because honestly, when they asked me, I was like, really? Me? Okay.
Yeah, same
So
with me.
how did it work for you?
It,
They just called you and you're like, okay.
yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
As long as I can travel from North Dakota to Florida as many times as possible, I will do it.
Oh, now what is it about North Dakota and I don't know, say January that would
Right.
make you want to go down to Florida?
Exactly. They're like, hey, we can do a Zoom meeting. I'm like, or I can just fly there. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, there were only a couple when I did everything except for the ones during convention. I was on Zoom the
right.
pretty much the entire time. Um, there was one that I could have squeezed, but it was just I think it was right after maybe IFE or something, and it was like
Yes.
this is just not practical to go from here to Iowa to Florida for an hour and a half meeting. Luckily that board is fantastic about making sure, well,
Absolutely.
here's the Zoom link and so that we can participate in it. So I guess that's gone well. Who now you're on with, is it Jay Straits is the
Jay
other?
Straits.
So
Correct.
he'll go off this year.
Right.
um yeah, it's interesting to be on the board and kind of see the inner thought process of how everything gets put together.
It
um
is. And I'm still learning, and it's almost been a year. And I feel like I only have another year left, and I don't even know if I will figure it all out by then.
yeah, well, and I was um I felt very much the same way. Like the first like 3 or 4 meetings, I was like, what am I supposed to do here? Like there was
Right.
nothing that really came up that I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The associates would not be down with that. So I'm going to speak up, or the associates would really want that. So I'm going to speak up. It was, I don't know. I guess they've just got things figured out down there with Florida with the board. And so things run fairly smoothly. Um,
Absolutely. It's
Certainly
and
it's been a curveball for you guys, since the president Hal Porter passed
I
earlier this
know.
year. So, shock to everybody. Like this was Hal, who was the good old boy who you
Right.
just always rely on to be there. I'm curious if you can share anything from that board meeting when it was announced and it was like, hey, we need to figure something out.
I think with the board, they are all included in so many different things that it's a very sad situation. But everybody had their own roles, so they just kind of all picked up the pace and moved forward with it.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Citrus County Fair. I mean, this last fair was tough on them because of Hal not being there. Yeah,
Yeah, I can
it's
imagine. He was a really interesting guy. I was talking with
yes,
Bill Olson about him, and Hal always just struck me when you first meet Hal. Anybody that didn't know Hal Porter, super tall. You'd probably catch him wearing overalls a time or two. Always had some dip in his lip. Like he was just like that country boy to the core. And then I remember sitting with him at one Florida Fed convention, and we were visiting, and he was a speechwriter. He wrote for I forget. I'll probably maybe an ag commissioner or a mayor or a governor or something. And I was like, wait, Hal Porter? Like
right.
Hal Porter was a speechwriter. He sure was,
And
man.
when he runs a meeting, he was very stoic and
Yep.
just very good at what he is doing.
Yep. Very matter of fact, right to the point
Hmm.
with a lot of things. Yeah, very good dude. I know the Federation and certainly the Citrus County Fair will miss him.
Oh,
I don't know how you ever fill shoes like that. But
no,
certainly he would
it's
want us to fill those shoes and move forward. I know he would absolutely loved the Citrus County Fair and love those
mhm.
people in Inverness. And so bravely and stoically we move forward, to
Right.
honor him.
Absolutely. And then sadly, this industry is going to, people are aging out and change is tough for
Yeah.
people. And,
Yep.
but look at all of the young people that are choosing to be in the fair industry. Now, I didn't choose that. I just fell into it. And
Yeah.
now it's like I always said, nobody chooses to be a fair manager, but now they're choosing it. So it's a very great industry for people.
Yep.
And I think it's just become a lot more, I don't
Yeah.
know what you want to call it, but just it's it's a choice that people are making. And
It
I
is.
love that.
And I think that you bring up an interesting thing about the young people. I look at the the demographics from being an entertainer myself of who I book,
Hmm.
what fairs that I'm booking. Um it's very advantageous to me if it's a younger fair manager. If they're in their 30s, I'm like, for some reason that clicks. A lot of the older fair managers, and it's no offense to them, I think they just kind of are so experienced, they know what works for their
Right.
fair,
Right.
and so deviating or trying something new can sometimes be outside the lines for them. But I look at young fair managers like, Tasha Hyder and Courtney Conkle and Cody, who's I guess up there with Red River now. And
Right.
I think it's a fantastic look for the fair to bring in these younger fair managers are coming in. I think it really revitalizes an industry.
And I think they're more willing to take the risks. It's not always the way we've done it. And it's like, well, let's try something new. And if it
Yeah,
doesn't work, it's okay. And
right.
then you can pivot and change it up for the next year.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, let's shift gears. I mentioned at the top of the show, you are director of partnerships at Saffire. I can
Yes.
remember when I was first coming in the industry in 2009, and Saffire was just starting to get started with their websites.
Hmm.
And now you all have taken over the fair and events in the fair and festival industry. What is it? It's director of partnerships. What does that involve for Sapphire? What are you doing specifically?
So, yeah, when I started with Sapphire, it's been 8 years. Uh, we mainly just did e-commerce and websites at the beginning, and now we do digital ticketing and everything. I think we had maybe 150 clients around that time, and we're well over 700 right now.
Yeah.
Our team was, I always say I was like the 13th employee, and now we have over 60.
Yeah.
So we've just been growing and growing. And I used to get bored after 5 years in a job. You can't get bored at Sapphire because it
No.
is changing constantly.
Yeah.
So, as director of partnerships, in reality, I'm a salesperson. I am the one, we have a small sales team. There's three of us. We're the ones that go out to do the trade shows and to talk with the clients and get them signed on with us and, talk to them about what their challenges are.
Sure.
I think the misconception a lot is that they're like, well, we already have somebody that does our website. That's great. We're not going to do your website. We have a platform that will assist you, and
Sure.
you're still going to do the content and you're still going to have the control. And I think the reality of that, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, we don't want to have to email you to update it at a website. And we're like, we don't want you to do that either because we're not
Yeah.
going to do that."
Right. You guys don't have time to do all that.
Yeah, no, we have an amazing platform that allows people to update their content on their own. And, a lot of our clients, they're volunteers,
Right.
so they don't have time. It's not their full-time job to run their fair. There's so many county fair people that are just volunteers, like I am at Norman County.
Right.
So, you just have to have a platform that's really easy for people to use and update. And you have people changing positions and things like that. So, that's our main goal, is just to make life easier for them.
Sure. So
Hmm.
once you get that, once like with the website, once you get the structure and everything's up, guessing you guys have a back end that's just very intuitive to go, well, I'm going to put this photo here, this video here, and
Yes.
because you got to make, especially like you say, if they're all volunteer,
Hmm.
They're not getting paid to put hours and hours into it. They want to take 15 or 20 minutes, put the updates on they need, and be done.
Absolutely. And what's really nice is that you can schedule everything. So you could just sit down in January for your July fair and get everything updated. Even though you're not announcing your demo derby or anything like that until May, you can
Right.
have it all scheduled to go online at that time.
Sure. Yeah,
So
scheduling is very
it's
advantageous. It's helped me with the podcast because the number of times that I've been away doing fairs and I'm like, well, everything's they're all scheduled. They're sitting now. Of course, I don't use Saffire. Wouldn't you and I have talked about that? It wouldn't make sense for me. I
no,
basically for my website, I need a one page website for each for Conjure, for Play with Giants,
right.
for the podcast. It's super simple. So I use Squarespace. That not an ad.
And I think that's
It's
one
not a
thing that
promotion,
we,
but it
but I
works
think,
really easily because I can schedule. I dump everything in, put the audio block in. Once that
right.
audio block's on, it goes into the RSS feed. And when I tell it, May 5th at 8 a.m., boom, Spotify, Apple, all of them get it.
Right. And that's one thing that we really talk with our potential clients about their challenges and what is it that they're looking at. We'll be the first ones to say we might not be the best fit for you if it's not a good fit.
Sure.
So, it's one of those things of like, no, we're not going to be a good fit for you, or yes, we can definitely help you with your challenges.
Right. I'm curious, what do you love about what you do with Saffire?
Sorry, dog's barking right now.
But the
Uh,
dog loves Saffire too.
Absolutely. I really love the relationships I have. I feel like our clients are not just clients, they are family to us. And because I've been in the fair industry since 1989, uh, we're dating ourselves. But it's like I love what I do, and I love being able to work with all the same people and talk the talk. It's not always about software and ticketing. It's like, okay, how can we help you get a new sponsor? I've seen this at this fair, I've seen this at this event or this festival, and how can I help you guys? And I think that's what we bring to the table more so is the relationships with people and to really be a partner. And that's kind of why my title is Director of Partnerships.
It sounds like you really enjoy working with other people.
Oh, 100%. I may talk too much too. So,
You talk too much or they talk too much?
I talk too much.
No, I could never imagine you talking too much,
Right.
Jodi.
Well, think about it, Robert. I ran into you at the Maricopa County Fair just because I was visiting. It's
Yep.
like I can't go somewhere without going to a fair. And it
Right.
has
And then
nothing to do with my job. It's
we
just
got to
because we
chatting
love
so
it.
much. Your hubby went and wandered off like, okay, she's gonna be a half hour. Huh?
Oh, absolutely. My kids grew up like that too. It's like, Mom, everywhere you go, you have to talk about the fair. And guess what? Both of my kids are in the industry now. So,
Yeah,
hey, it,
so
it rubs off.
it feels like it's in your blood.
Well, my dad's been on the fair board for 40 some years. My sister actually just got Volunteer of the Year award last night at the Red River Valley Fair annual meeting. So
Fancy.
yes, and my niece Michaela is the Anoka County Fair Manager in Minnesota. Carson works at Red River Valley Fair and he's got the same title as me. He does sponsorships there, but Director of Partnerships.
Sure.
So yeah. And then Connor's in Australia and he actually went over to Sydney and worked with Linnell Smith during the Royal Easter Show this year for 10 days.
Yep. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic show from what I understand.
Oh my gosh, what an
I got
experience.
I'm looking forward to one day getting to go to it. That one was, I don't know if you recall, we were scheduled to go down there at the end of March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then all hell broke loose. We did not go.
Right. No, actually, my husband and I are going to go to Australia here in a couple of weeks to visit our son because he's study abroad, but he actually he went over and worked with Linnell and learned a lot. And he also works for Saffire as a contractor in
Okay.
the summer and does a lot of ticketing, Wisconsin State Fair and San Diego County Fair. And yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, it's
Excellent.
in
Well,
the blood.
let's dig in a little more on Saffire.
Sure.
Because I know initially when I first came in the industry and I started to see what you guys were doing, a lot of it was just websites. doing,
Correct.
and then you guys kind of shifted over to being more mobile first, and then you got into ticketing. There's all sorts going on now. Um, when a client calls Saffire and says, "Hey, we've got your website. We're looking to do online ticketing for our concerts or for our
Mhm.
gate or whatever," what can they expect on your end? How does that process look?
So a lot of it is we just talk to them and it's like, okay, why? Have you ever done online ticketing before? Uh, Things like that. What's your price points? Is your customers, patrons willing to pay more for that convenience? If you have a $5 gate admission, might not be a great, you
Right.
know, people aren't going to pay extra. But it's one of those processes that we go through of like, okay, let's talk through it. What is your challenges that you need? What are we trying to solve?
Yep.
And a lot of it is taking credit cards. People old school fairs don't take credit cards and you have
Right.
a lot of cash.
Yep.
So it has changed to be more of that credit card system. And so getting them started with credit cards so that they can eliminate some of that cash handling. That's, I think, the biggest challenges for the fairs is
Mm.
that they don't have the staffing anymore to sit and count that money and things like that. So updating them to that is as the first step that we talk about. There's a lot of us after COVID, we implemented a lot of kiosks, self-service.
Sure.
That has been growing tremendously. And if you even go up to a ticket window where there's a live person there
Mhm.
versus the kiosk right next to it, you have more lines at the kiosk. This generation just doesn't want to talk to people,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
They just,
imagine that.
right? They want to buy it on their phone. They want to
Yeah.
scan a QR code and purchase it that way. So those things the trends have changed tremendously in the last 5 years.
I bet. Well, and I've said for a long time, probably I want to say like 2016 or 2017, I really started telling fairs, you have to go to online ticketing.
Yes.
And they just weren't, so many of the fairs at that point, 6 to 10 years ago weren't ready to hear this.
No,
And I understand there's you probably even still there's a number of fairs out there that just based on their demographic, it's a cash community. They're
absolutely.
not going to do it. And that's fine if they know their demographic. But I remember when I was in Woodwork, Florida, um, a lot of the ride operators would do a thing, I guess, called the Mega Pass or something like
Right.
that, or
Right.
the All Access Pass, something.
Hmm.
And in order to get it, you would have to stop by your local Publix or your local Wells Fargo bank or something like that. And my thing, when I told fairs, you got to go online. You have to you got to sell them through Facebook. You got to sell them on your website. And when
Right.
fairs would say, but are people really going to do that? I said, it's about friction to the guest experience.
Hmm.
Which sounds easy. Put yourself like, who's the demographic that's deciding who's buying the ticket and deciding to go to the fair? Mom is doing it.
Absolutely. Mom is doing it. She
Mom's the one
decides
doing
when
it.
you show up and when you leave too.
Right,
So,
exactly. So my thing was to fairs, okay, put yourself in the shoes of a mom. She's got to pick up the kids from school. She got
yeah.
to get them to soccer practice, right? She's already been at work. Dad's not getting home till 6. She's got to handle all that. And now you're telling her, by the way, could you stop by your Publix on the way home and wait in
Right.
another line to get your tickets for the fair? What sounds better? That or she's gotten done with an exhausting day. She's sitting in bed flipping through Facebook and the ad
Exactly.
pops up and she says, "Oh, honey, uh, 2 for 1 this weekend, or the ride bands, or do you want to go?" "Yep, we're going." One button and it's done. Which
Right.
sounds better? We
And
all
that's
know
just it.
the
It's a
answer is they're all
convenience.
doing it online. They want it right there. Listen, there are videos out there when I think it was Burger King started taking credit cards in the first place. And this was back in the 80s when there was no swipe it. It was you'll remember this because we are both old enough to remember this.
Right.
It was the carbon copy with that thing. You put the
Oh,
imprint on the
yes.
card and you went back. And now somebody had to eventually go type all those numbers in manually. And
Right.
people were like, no one's going to do that. Really? For a 30-cent cheeseburger? Nobody's going to do that. And now look, our entire lives revolve around this little device with all of our
Absolutely.
information on it. So Yeah, I mean, I think that we absolutely trended that way with digital ticketing, but I also wanted to touch base on any other tech trends that you're seeing that involve the events industry. RFID stuff. I know Disney's all about that with their Magic Band now. Like you can walk through
Correct.
Disney with your Magic Band on, and it's like, "Hello, Robert. Welcome to Space Mountain," or whatever. Like they know. So, what are you
So,
guys seeing on your end?
well, we also have the RFID. It's called Blast Pass,
Okay,
and we do it a lot with our carnival areas. Florida State Fair, Wisconsin State Fair, Minnesota State Fair.
so your
Those
big ones.
independent, yeah. So the independent carnivals will use our Blast Pass RFID system. Uh, Basically, it's exactly like that. It's the Disney. We have a completely separate team that works just with that. It takes a lot to do it because we have to have every independent operator. We have to know who they are, how many credits are they going to do, even changing the software for when, say you're like the balloon dart guy at the games. Okay, well, you got two guys working that. Well, they're getting paid commission on how much they're getting on those sales and they can
Mm,
upsell it. So, like rewriting some of that software to make sure he can say, okay, I'm going to give it to you for $1 instead of $2 or something. And they can change that in the
right.
system so that, and we know each operator how much they're making and each ride and each game and things like that. So they get the reports every day and it has really changed a
Wow.
lot.
And
We also,
that
yeah,
amount of data has to only lead to more efficiency. Hopefully, if you have a human on
absolutely.
the other end that knows how to interpret the data, it's got to be
Well, and
more
that's
efficient.
just it. It's like, each person has their own devices, that type of stuff, and they turn them in. And, you know, when you get into the carnival business with the operators, you know that one guy might own four rides out of those
Right.
20. So he's getting four different reports to know which ones are making the most money for them.
Sure.
And so yeah, the data is amazing. It's mind-boggling of how much data we can capture and
Right.
how much are they spending and how much are they not spending? I mean, did they purchase credits onto their wristband and not using them? What's the breakage on that?
Sure.
Things like that.
Well, and at
So
the end of
it's
the day,
crazy.
you should still have their most basic contact information so that the
Hmm.
next year, in January, if your fair's in May or June, whatever, January,
Hmm.
you can start saying, "Hey, here's the special, 40% off. It's the best deal of the year." And
Absolutely.
you can remarket to those same people.
And the data we gather on, and not just with the RFID, but just with any of our ticketing, is amazing because we can say, okay, John Doe, he's come to five of our events this year. We know he's a VIP. Why?
Yeah,
Let's market to him a little bit more and give him a discount because he's one of our, best customers that comes to
sure,
all of our events. Things
sure.
like that. And you can start seeing that purchasing power that each person has. And within our software as well, we have like the marketing part of it. It's like we can sort it by a zip code. We
Right,
know, we have so many county fairs saying, well, we just advertise within our county, but actually it's the other counties that are coming. So why are you not advertising within the other
right,
counties?
right.
So
Well, and it's
it's
interesting
powerful.
if you know who it is.
Hmm.
There's also a way I think I don't know if any fairs will do this. I do it for my clients. Of course, I've got all of, like 15 clients that I've got to deal with over the course of a year. I don't have, 500,000 people
Right.
show up through my gate. So there's a difference there. But like you said, that guy who's been to like 5 or 6 of your events, like he's always
Right.
there. His family's always there. There's a way to scale what Gary Vaynerchuk would call the unscalable.
Hmm.
And it's the same type of thing like back in the day with Taylor Swift before she became like Taylor Swift
Right.
that we know now. When someone would send her a tweet and say, "Taylor, in March, my grandma's turning 90 and she loves your music. Could you send her a tweet and sing her happy birthday?" And Taylor decides, you know what? I'm going to get on my plane and I'm going to just go fly to
Right.
Minnesota to where West Fargo, and I'm gonna go spend 30 minutes with them and sing a couple songs and sing this 90-year-old grandma happy birthday. That is it ROI positive for her time and in her investment? No, it's she's taking a loss on that, but the scale she
But
gets from the amplification is unbelievable. And so I've done things like that where um, Fran Crone down in Florida was a good
yeah.
example. She's a huge Motown fan, just like I am. I love what like all this stuff up over my shoulder. I just knock pictures over. That's all Boys to Men stuff there. They're my favorite group. She loves like the Temptations and all that jazz. And so one year she'd signed a multi-year deal with me to bring Conjure into the fair down there. And so I go online,
Oh,
I go onto eBay, and I find her a signed gold record from the Temptations. And I send her this signed gold record from the Temptations just to say thank you. But having that contact with her, that context where she knew that I knew she loved Motown, right? And there was a personal touch there. That's scaling an unscalable thing. And I think with that kind of data that you're talking about, if you know that this guy's been to 5 or 6 year events and you happen to know where because he posts on
oh
Instagram and he
yeah.
tags you and you go to his Instagram and you find out, oh, he's a huge, I don't know, LA Dodgers fan. And then so somewhere out of there, just like for Christmas one year, you get him a signed baseball. Like maybe he loves Shohei Ohtani, who's the new guy with the Dodgers. You find him a signed baseball that might cost you a couple $100 and you send it to him
Hmm.
as a gift. Thank you so much. Like the amplification on that. Thank you for being one of our best customers. We love having you. Something like that. Or you get him
Agree.
an it's Matt,
Yes.
you cannot the relationship you build with that is unbelievable.
Well, and also I look at some of these events where you have that same person that's coming to every concert. You know that you can get some backstage passes.
Sure.
Go find that guy out there that is loving your event and give him a free backstage pass to meet and greet. It
Right.
doesn't cost anything,
Right. Well, and if you
but
think about
boy, it
if you think about
means
how
a
we
lot.
handle businesses and like you say, what it means to them, how many times do you see an ad from T-Mobile or something that they're like, new customers get this for free? And you're like,
Right.
I've been with you for 10 years.
Right.
What do I get?
Yep.
And you get annoyed.
Absolutely.
Where if they were to be like, I can tell you this, if T-Mobile one time was to be like, hey, Robert, you've been a loyal customer for a long time. We're going to just give you, I don't know, 50% off your bill this month just to say thank you.
Right.
I'd be like, really? I would be telling everybody and their dog how awesome T-Mobile is or how from Verizon or who like now, do they have to
Absolutely.
do that to a million customers? No. Taylor Swift did not go sing happy birthday a million
Right.
times. She probably did it 20 times.
Right.
And so, anyhow, I just think that there's ways out there with the data that we have at our fingertips between the software data that you guys collect at Saffire, literally just figuring out who our guests are at these events. There's huge ways to scale things and build better relationships.
Oh,
Um,
100%. And we have a new team member, Jen Puente, who is on our
yes.
team now. Uh, and that's basically what her position is to help our clients market better to sell more tickets,
Yep.
get more people in and promote a little
Yep.
bit. And she is amazing at that. And so, we just keep building people into our teams that actually have been in all of our industries. We kind of have a lot of people that were our clients that now work for us.
Yeah.
But hey, it's
But
who
that's
we are
because you
and
built relationships. I mean, what does that say
exactly.
about Sapphire that
Hmm.
you have built relationships that when a fair manager who was, the ag director or the fair manager or whoever for 5 years, 10 years, they decide, you know what, I'm gonna look for a change, that they come knocking on your door because they know
Yes,
what you're about. I think that speaks incredibly highly for the core philosophy of who Sapphire is.
absolutely. And we have this new little, I can't even say it, it's called Mitdweebs. It's yeah, Mietw. What anyways, it's
Okay.
make it easy to work with Sapphire. You know, so we try to make it easy for all of our clients to work with
Sure.
us. And we want it to be simplified, And I always say, I'm at a trade show, nobody really wants to buy software.
Yeah.
It's like it's not the most glamorous thing to discuss, but it's a very necessary item
Of
to have
course.
in your toolbox. And so we try to make it super easy for people to work with us and make sure that we have a team that is working with them as well. It's not like you just here's your software and log in and go at it. We literally go hand in hand with them. We become their partner, we become part of their family, they become part of ours.
Right.
It's it's such a great, I think the relationships that we built with our clients is probably, I mean, we know about their grandkids. We know I mean, it's just part of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And that's one of our core values. You know, we make nerdy fun. That's one
Yeah.
of our literally what our
Yeah.
core value is making nerdy fun.
Well, and you guys have done a beautiful job with it over the years. I'm curious though, AI is coming fast and furious. What is the
It is.
potential to, there's few things that I think have been as disruptive or potentially disruptive as with what AI is going to come into. How does it have the potential to disrupt Sapphire?
You know, I think with live events, it's going to be, you know, making those smarter choices, you know, things like that moving forward, whether we're talking about staffing levels or, you know, future programming. And, you know, there's a lot of fun things that are out there with the AI tools. And I think it's going to change that marketing content. We've been using it for presentations, discussing how fairs can actually use AI to write up their proposals or
Yep.
their entertainment and their marketing and those types of things. So I think that's really going to change in the next couple of years of how things work. I also think that, like with my son who's 20 years old, he uses AI all the time. You know, it helps him write his papers for college, things like that, just to get that verbiage a little bit better than what
Right.
the casual conversations are out there.
Right. I
Yeah.
do that
So,
on Squarespace. Literally, I started when I started up the podcast again a month or a couple months ago. Um, I'm filling, I'm on Squarespace and I'm creating the page for each podcast episode. And, I usually only write like 5 or 6 sentences, just a quick
right.
summary of what the episode's about, and then click play, right? Like I don't need to talk about it. You're about to listen to it. And now I notice in the text box on Squarespace where you can, do bold and italics and justification, all that, there's this little lightning bolt. And I'm like, what is that? And I hover over it and it says, pops up this little thing that talks about, let our AI helper, write your website.
Right.
And I'm like, so I start messing with it. And I said to myself, huh. So I type in a prompt, podcast episode description. Guest is Jodi Buresh, works with Saffire, a technology and, online ticketing company. We discuss A, B, and C. Right? And I'm like, okay. And it pops out 3 paragraphs of
Right.
like really amazing. I'm a good writer, but dang. So
Oh, I've done
you got
that
to
too
go
with
through.
some emails, and
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
you got to trim it up a little to make sure it's got kind of your voice, that it doesn't sound too outrageously AI. But I'm like, oh my God. And that's
Right.
just on one click, just with some text. Like the thing
And I
that
get
scares
sucked
me with
into
it.
it.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. It scares me is how much you get sucked in and you go down the rabbit hole, because now I'm like, oh, can I rewrite the whole description of Conjure? Can I rewrite this? Can I Oh, and that's again is just writing stuff. What terrifies me are these deep fake videos.
Oh,
How,
I
how,
know.
Jodi, how long is it before the state arrests somebody for a murder, for a crime, and the defense attorney goes, here's this video. Oh, are you sure about that? Because that one was a fake. So how do you know that the state's video is real? Like,
Right.
oh my God,
And I read so many murder mystery stuff, so it's like,
it's
yeah,
coming.
it's
It's
coming.
coming. The deep fakes have already been like stuff about the President Biden or Trump or Iran or whatever. I'm like, oh man, did we not
What
pay attention to Terminator? Do we not know
right.
what happens if we let these machines get going?
What I like most is like I will type in something and then it comes up with this really professional way of saying things, which is not me. And I'm like,
Right.
can we have it more casual? Then I get into it and I'm like, can we write it in a Renaissance theme? Or can we write this in? And so it's just all of a sudden, and 20 minutes later, I'm still on chat, just seeing how funny it can be.
Yes. Yes. And it gets smarter. The more people type prompts into Chat GPT and say, no,
Yes.
that's too informal, more formal, and it's
Right.
it's learning, we're screwed. Like humans
I
had a
know.
good run, Jodi. It's over. We might as well just and sail
Oh,
off into the
yes.
sunset. Like it's curtains for humans. The machines are taking over.
Absolutely. Crazy.
Anyhow, well, we're right up on about 40 minutes. I want to kind of start wrapping this up, but I
Sure.
wanted to switch gears just a little bit, um, and ask you this question. I ask a lot of people on this show. You can go back in time and give advice to 15-year-old you.
Hmm.
What do you tell 15-year-old Jodi? It
Don't
won't
be
be six
afraid.
months. It won't be
Yeah,
6 months, right?
right. Say back in my day, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have all of that type of stuff. So I would say for me, don't be afraid to move away and go to college somewhere else. You can always come back home.
Mm.
Oops, did we lock up here?
Nope, I
Did you
think
hear
I
that?
got you. I got you. Or maybe it is getting
Okay, yeah,
stuck.
I would probably want to move away.
Yeah.
Yeah, move away and come back home, maybe. I
That's
was always
interesting.
afraid.
You said, don't be afraid to move away. And I think that's the key is just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to
Right.
try something, and I see this all the time on like Gary Vaynerchuk short videos. Gary V's out there and people are like, Gary, I really, I want to do this, but I really like this. But I also could do this. And it's a 20-year-old that's like, I feel like a
Right.
loser because I haven't figured my life out. And he's like, bro, pick one of them.
Hmm.
Oh, but what if I fail? And
It's okay.
Jocko Willink, I don't know if you know who Jocko is. He's a retired Navy SEAL and he does professional like business training and whatnot now. Um, his thing when he was in the SEAL teams, his word was good. Oh, I messed this up, Jocko. Good. Now you have more time to practice it. Jocko, I didn't get the promotion. Good. Now you've got an opportunity to get
Right.
better, And I think that if we can instill anything in our young people, especially like our own children, I try to tell Nate. He was so disappointed back in December he didn't have enough classes to qualify for the testing for his next Taekwondo belt, and he was so bummed. And I said, "Good, now you got 2 more
Yeah.
months to get everything right."
Right.
And
Well, and
he snapped out of it like that. He was like, "Yeah, now I got more opportunity to get better."
Well, and I look at the same thing. I was scared to death that when Connor moved to Australia in February to be there for 6 months, I was like, oh my God, I don't know anybody there. How am I going to like, how can I save him if I need to? And then I'm like, no, he's a great kid that can do this on his own.
Right.
I message him every day. I'm like, are you alive? He goes, Mom, I do not need to respond to you every single day. And I'm like, you kind of do.
Yeah,
So I'm
you
like,
do.
you do.
You're on the other side of the planet. Yeah, just give me a minute. Let me get used to
Right.
this idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
How old
know,
is he now?
he'll be 21 here May 2nd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Happens fast.
it
Yeah.
does.
Nate's 13. That's why this year, I'm down about 20 fair days this year. And
Oh,
at first I was kind of bummed. I'm like, damn, but then I clicked when
yeah,
he turned 13 in December. I was like, wait a minute.
right.
That's only like 5 more birthdays, 5 more Christmases.
I
I'm okay
know.
being down a little because I can go ham once he's 18 and graduates, and like I can go ham and go do 200 days a year if I want to.
Right.
So yeah, we're kind of shifting more priority to family. So I get that. But man, Connor 21, that's wild.
I know. And Carson will be 23.
Ugh, don't
I
even talk like
know.
that, Jodi.
And I'm only 38. I don't know how this
That
works.
means that means he was 10 when Nate was born.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm still 20. I'm still 29
All right.
for a long time.
My
Wow.
kids are like, Mom, can you at least be in your 40s now? Because it's kind of the age gap is getting a little too close. And I'm like,
It's
no, I'm
getting
still
weird. No,
38.
I'm still 38. Yeah, getting a little weird there. Well, listen, we're right at 45 minutes, so let's wrap this up. Everybody who
Okay.
comes on the show goes through a quick little speed round of questions.
Okay.
Jodi, it is your time for the speed round. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question. You give me your best answer. Biggest pet peeve.
Being late.
Favorite fair food.
Oh, garlic cheese curds. I even have a whole photo album of cheese curds on my phone.
It's a photo album of cheese curds. Okay, a movie is made about your life. Who plays Jodi?
Sandra Bullock or Melissa McCarthy?
Okay, good answers. Speaking of ticketing and events, what is the best concert you've ever attended?
Oh, I've seen a ton of concerts. I have to say Aerosmith at North Dakota State Fair.
Right on. Right
Hmm.
on.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Fantastic. Jody, where can folks learn more about Saffire?
Oh, definitely on sapphire.com. Yeah.
Saffire.com. So if y'all listening, if you're thinking we might want to change up our ticketing or we need to change our website, or heck, even if they're not the one, if you need kind of a quick consult on the direction to go, Saffire is the place to be. Jody can help you with that. Jody, I am so glad you come on the show today. I'm glad
It
we
was
bumped into
fun.
each other in Maricopa, and I thought of having you on. This was a great.
It was fun, and I'm glad my husband got to put together all your puzzles while we talked.
Yeah, he did. He sure did. Thanks for your time today to all our listeners. We appreciate all 6 of you. Thank you for being very loyal listeners. We'll catch you next time. Bye bye.